Corinthians 6.
Welcome, everyone, to another night and another adventure on TTRP Theater. Tonight, I will be your dungeon master. I'm Lake. You may have seen me around here before. I'm on several other shows on the channel, but tonight I will be in the pilot seat, responsible for the horrible epidemics, terrible truths, and general everything else that happens to the unfortunate adventurers who have chosen to run this adventure with me. But we'll get to that soon enough. As of now, I'm going to take a step back and allow each of our characters to step forward and get a bit of an introduction to themselves. Please say who you are as a person, introduce your character's name, a little bit of a tidbit about your character as much as you'd like to reveal, and then we'll move on throughout the group. Curtis, why don't you go first, since you're so often behind the scenes? Let's let you shine for once.
All right. Hi, my name is Curtis. I go by Old Curtis VO on the social media, or you can get me right here at TTRP Theater. I'm the theater director for all of our shows, and this is my first game. Yeah, I run the Cult Games. The one is Cult Games. We're about to launch our second one, but I do the one on Friday nights, and the Sunday night game now, Greyhawk City, is moved to Sunday nights. And I am excited about being a player tonight, so I'm kind of rambling for just a second. I am playing a halfling sorcerer, a Lightfoot halfling sorcerer named Frank Begbie.
Idiots. All right, let's just go down the list. Izzy, why don't you talk about yourself next? You're muted.
Yeah, I clicked off. Hey guys, my name is Izzy. You probably don't know me from anywhere or anything, but I am a East Coast GM and player, most notably known at my local lodges for Pathfinder, but fairly well versed in 5th edition as well. I am playing a character named Shepherd today, who is a Furbolg and a cleric of Kalimvor. Low reserve to themselves, but charismatic enough that they aren't going to insult you. So that's who I am.
Indeed. Well, after Izzy, we have Tamara.
Hello, I'm Tamara. I'm pretty new to the stream, actually, but super excited to be here. I'm playing Shava, a wood elf rogue, who's just kind of looking to find herself in this strange new world.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we have Zoe.
Hi, I'm Zoe Trooper. I'm going to be playing Fiverr tonight, who is a Warforged bard. I am not musically inclined as a person, so we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, I think. I'm going to be doing some poetry for inspiration, or perhaps just like belittling but inspiring comments. Because Cora is very much the cutting personality, where an underhanded compliment is just as good as a regular compliment.
Which will be fun for everyone, I'm sure. So, without further ado, our players have been introduced. The GM is ready to get this rolling, but we have one last thing to do, and that is introduce you to what we're going to be here about. Without further ado, welcome back. So, as our story begins, it begins as many good stories do. In this particular story, we start in the city of Neverwinter, a little tavern just off of the Blue Lake district called the Driftwood Tavern. A sometimes rowdy place, but in the middle of this fine late spring evening, it is quiet, it is calm. Yet several individuals have been called here through different means and different purposes by one. Standing in front of a table where our party is gathered as dishes clink and mugs are drained is a man who is pale, white-haired, and looks scarred as if he has seen years of conflict in his life. He stands with his arms behind his back as if at attention, but he addresses each of these individuals almost as if they are equals. So, perhaps some better introductions are in order. My name is Wilson Ontel. You may be wondering why I've gathered you here, or you may just be wondering what you're going to be paid, but trust assured, I have a job for you. He looks around the table, taking in each of you one by one. But in my experience, these jobs never go well unless everyone knows what they're here to do and who they're working with. He looks to the man, mostly man, who's sitting on his left. And at this point, Zoe, why don't you go ahead and describe your character and what they look like?
I imagine this would be immediately. There's nothing really strange other than this mask that's very ornate and kind of has a rabbit-like face on it. That is probably the most curious thing, and it leads into a red hood and shawl. This clothes, like the shawl and stuff, would be nice at one point, but they look like they've spent many years in the weather, and the colors have definitely begun to fade. There's silver trimming that has lost its luster over time. Across the back of this person is a lute. You can see the strings, and you can immediately understand that they're a minstrel of some sort. But as you gaze downwards, there's no pants, and all that is there is a set of mechanical legs. And that's when it begins to clue in that this is indeed a warforged of some sort, possibly an entertainment model. You could only guess. But yeah, Fiverr, as they are known, simply stands there and observes the people around them, and doesn't introduce themselves just yet. they're just observing for the moment.
Wilson watches you for a moment as if expecting you to actually introduce your name, but he kind of trails off towards the next individual. We'll get to that in time regardless. All right. And this time he gestures towards Shava.
Yeah, so Shava is a very small figure, around 5'6", very slim in build. She wears this golden brown cloak, or more of a cream, with the inlay of golden branches on it. Underneath, she wears a set of leather armor in tones of blue and gold, with the hood up on her cloak and a dark blue scarf covering half her face. Across her back is a very nicely made dwarven quiver, and she carries a long bow across her back as well. And she'll kind of look at the rest of the group and go, Shava, a pleasure to meet you.
In my experience, it never hurts to have it never hurts to have a talented tracker in your party. If you get lost in the woods, well, that only expedites your problems. But enough of that. Next, and he looks over towards the tiny halfling just kind of sitting there.
Yeah, so you see this, it's a halfling. He's probably not going to be sitting. I don't typically sit in these situations because I'm just a couple inches over 3 feet tall. So sitting in these chairs makes me look shorter than I actually am. So I like to stand and lean against the table. But he's got kind of a sun toned face, spent a lot of time outside, but dark hair, dark pants and boots. He's got a very thin, dark handlebar mustache and a little tight goatee to match. He's got dark pants and boots. A little bit of blue coloration in some of the trim and stuff that looks like it's faded out over the time, but it once was a little prettier than it is now, but he tries to keep it clean. The collar of a white shirt kind of pokes out of the top of this double-breasted leather lab coat styled jacket. The sleeves of the shirt and the jacket are both rolled up, exposing his arms, which are sleeved out in these line tattoos in like a paisley sort of design. It's kind of ugly in a sense, unless you really like paisley. But it's not colored, it's just all line art. But he's also got these fingerless black gloves that seem to have like this embossed texture similar to the dimpling on a golf ball. And the most notable feature, though, that is the contrast to his dark skin and dark hair is these little purple glasses that he wears as well, and they're tinted purple. And then the thin mustache, and he's I've been, I don't know how long have we been here, just a few minutes and such, but yeah, these seems like nice people. This guy, he plays music and such, so that'll be fun. And a tracker, you say? You're a tracker? Great. This is going to be a lot of fun. I like this.
Word to the grapevine here is Frank, whom I believe forgot to mention himself, has done some studying with the Arcane Brotherhood from Luskin. Magical expertise is always useful on an expedition like this, and you're going to need it before the end, I assure you. But we have one more in our number, and he will gesture over towards...
Gestures over towards this large 6'3" figure, obviously standing right behind the chair that they were supposed to be sitting at. Their skin is this bluish green with gray eyes and red hair. This is a furbolg. They appear to be wearing what appears to be cleric's vestments over some scale mail, with a shield on their back and a mace at their hip. Everything other than the cleric's vestments seems to be brand new, never used, probably just right out of the blacksmith. And you notice that their pants are tucked into these large waders, these leather boots that go up to their knees, that appear to be stained in salt and seaweed. And surveying all of you, they say, My name is Shepard. I am here on behalf of the Church of Kellenvor, and I was assigned to look over you.
At this point, Fiverr would clap their hands together in excitement. Oh, good. I had to be sure of all of your names before I gave mine own. I am Fiverr. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
Yes. As any good expedition needs, you keep Shepard alive and he will keep each of you alive. It's just good business. But on to the task at hand. The reason I've called you all here is, well, I have a bit of a personal job for you. Are any of you familiar with the Neverwinter Woods?
Yes.
Am I?
My tribe was from there.
Have you spent much time there yourself?
Recently, no. But they are scattered.
Well, that'll be fine. We don't expect much trouble in those woods. Maybe some goblins, wolves, nothing much worse if you're unlucky. Maybe the odd orc attack, but regardless.
Wait, nothing much worse? That's where we're going, was with the wolves and goblins and stuff?
If you're
With the
lucky.
holy
I
man,
expect you
a
can handle
musician,
that
and a
much.
tracker. Okay, this is going to be fun.
Less than a 10-day ago, my daughter disappeared, and I don't know where she's gone. Any attempts to contact her has been proven ineffective, which is troublesome since she's capable of her own right. She studied in Waterdeep at the Black Tower. I'm worried, and when I get worried, I make sure something is done about it, and that's where you all come in. I'm looking for a group to move into the Neverwinter Wood and see if you can't find any tracks of her.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, if you say these are the guys, I'm with you, man.
Yes.
Not to be unpleasant, but do I have rights to bury anything that we may find out there as well?
If you want to bury him, that's your choice.
Okay.
As long as you get my daughter back, that's fine.
Right.
What do you
My
mean
daughter's
by-
a half-elf. You may be surprised to find, but she is half drow. No, do not treat her differently because of it. She spent the better part of her life trying to live down that heritage, so if you bring it up, it's just going to annoy her. That's my fair warning to you. Skin is fair gray, her hair is bobbed in the back with white. Unless she's changed it, she may have, she may not. I don't know. I haven't seen her in about a year, but I have lost contact, as I said, past 10 days. It's not like her to go this long without keeping in touch.
I shall refrain from describing her with song then.
Great. All right.
His head just kind of tilts over to you for a brief moment. You get the almost overbearing feeling that he is appraising you now, like he has not even paid attention to you before. I expect you all to act as professionals would, professionals who are being paid very well for this job. Which brings me to my next point, payment. Obviously, I don't expect you to do this for free, and I do plan on equipping you all before you head out. He will take a small bag from his side and just kind of slide it over the front of the table, unfurling the back of it. And inside, you see there are very small glowing vials, 4 in total, each of them kind of a beet red, pulses faintly. Depending on what trouble you run into, you may need these potions of healing. Whether or not you use them or not is your choice. This is your forward payment. They're a pretty penny, but they're yours. As for payment of a job well done, well, that's not exactly set in stone. As I'm in good standing with the Lord's Alliance and the Order of the Gauntlet. I have quite a few friends among Neverwinter, Waterdeep, Luskan, even Baldur's Gate. Flaming Fist, if you're so interested. You do this job for me, and I will owe you a favor, whatever that may be. Whether you want coin, something particular, or just information, I'll do everything in my power to make sure it gets done. And on that, you have my word.
Is this per person or per group?
I'll owe each of you a favor.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the gears moving in Fiverr's head. You know, like
Literally.
Do any of you have any questions?
Wilson, you didn't just pick these guys like off of Craig's board, did you? I mean, we've got these 4 potions is what we're getting, and a favor. That's what the promise is.
That is.
And a priest. And we got a priest who's ready to bury stuff. Nope, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
You don't know what Kellenborg does, do you?
What? Who does?
Kellenborg.
No. But hey, you look like a good enough fella, and if you say it's good, then, who am I to argue?
I never said he was good, but yes. Don't worry about it.
Oh, well, see, now you got me worried.
Time to be educated on Kellenborg's teaching.
Oh, I look forward to that.
I'm just gonna give him a kind of weird look.
I may need to remind you of this, but I would hope I wouldn't, of the current issues that Neverwinter is facing in terms of our little undead problem. Neverwinter Wood hasn't shown any extra problems with this little issue, but I would advise you to stay cautious of it one way or the other. Any undead that you encounter, I would advise you to give a wide berth to, just in case. We don't know if this is infectious or if it's some other arterial effect that we haven't been able to explain yet.
This just keeps getting better and better. I love it. Sorry, Wilson. Keep going.
I'll just take that as you're nervous. The sooner you sort out, the sooner you can get this done, and the sooner I can know what's happened to my daughter. If you have any final preparations, see to them. I expect this to be done soon as possible. I didn't spend 50 years working at the War Wizards of Cormantha just to see things end this way.
Goddamn right. Sorry, there is a shepherd.
No need to be sorry. Have you done any sort of research to make sure that she is still alive? You said you worked with the wizards. Maybe you scryed on her?
As I said, I've tried several things. Both sending and scrying have produced no results. I have no idea what could possibly be blocking it other than something, well, far beyond her pay grade. If she's trying to do this to keep from being found herself, well, that would be out of character, but I suppose it's possible. And if that's the truth, then you'll come back to me with information that she's fine. She just wants to be alone. You'll still get paid one way or the other.
Very well.
Right on. That's what we got the tracker for, right? So, we gotta like point you in the right direction, or how does that work?
Yeah, just lead me to the woods.
Do you have any last bit of advice before we leave, or is our time here done?
If you hear howling, don't go looking for it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So we're for certain she's in these woods. I mean, we're gonna have to like go into the woods. Is that what I'm hearing?
The woods aren't
Last
that
thing I heard from her.
All right. So Fiverr, that's what you said your name is? How tall is Fiverr?
Fiverr is about 5'11".
5'11". I'm liking this 5'11" hunk of metal. I'm gonna like get a little closer to that.
For the moment, Fiverr is not especially well armored, but it might be worth the shield there. No,
well, you don't look as soft as these guys, and you've got music, so we're rolling.
At this point, Fiverr is somewhat curious. He goes, "Tell me, what sort of job does this daughter of yours have that she goes into Neverwinter Wood alone and attempts to be hidden?
Yeah.
This may provide some clues as to locating her."
My daughter's an archaeologist of the arcane nature. She looks into ruins of Netheril for any arcane observations that can be discerned. Past 10 years or so, she's been looking into a particular branch of magic, hoping that it may shed some insight into magics that were popular at the time, but not so readily available now.
What branch of magic was that?
He turns to you, Frank, and says, "Tell me, Frank, what do you know of magic as a whole? How much magic are you aware of?"
I know a whole lot about magic.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like riddled with it, fluent in magic, learning more and more all the time, and I know a whole bunch that I've already learned. So I'm with you. You can just go ahead and tell me, and I'll be right there on it.
So I assume that you are familiar with the concept that there are tiers of magic, and each magic is tiered by the magical energies that are required to be channeled to properly use said magic. And these tiers are typically gauged
Well.
from 1 to 9. You're with me so far, I assume.
Oh yeah. The old 1 to 9 thing. Yeah, I'm on that.
What if I were to tell you that there was a 10th level of magic?
10th level of magic.
Yes.
Oh, I think I might have heard about the 10th level.
Then you're better educated than I would have guessed. Ancient Netherese ruins suggest that there were powerful levels of magic that are more capable than we've even dreamed of in our current age. And she was determined to find if this was possible as magic is now, and if not, figure out why. She has a habit of doing things like this, but as I've said, this is the first time she's ever not gotten back in touch with me, which has led me to be worried. If something has happened to her, I want to know what it is.
All right, gotcha. You seem pretty determined about this, Wilson. So yeah, she's a grown woman, right? But hey, if you say it's bad news, then she's not answering her calls, then I think you got the right people for the job. What time of day is it?
It is currently a little above noon, say 8, 9 in the morning. Hence why it's so calm in the tavern at the moment.
Oh, so yeah. First thing tomorrow?
You're being paid to do it today.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. All right. I think I got everything I need. I came prepared. Ready for action.
I'm glad
Magic.
You did.
All right. I will leave how you handle these affairs at your discretion. Get back to me as soon as you can. If you need... I'm drawing a blank as I need to check my notes. Give the GM one hot second here.
Halfling, you are very well versed in magic. I did not expect that from you. What's your background?
I got pretty much a pretty high level magic kind of background. There was magic in my family, trained under my uncle. He knew a whole lot about magic. He did alchemy too. I don't know that a whole lot about alchemy. He always had me carrying shit around, so I didn't get into much of that. But then being around all of that stuff, I got good with magic. So I got some tricks up on my sleeve.
So no formal training?
Formal training? Well, no, as opposed to I learned, that this was that and that was this, and you need this for that one thing and some stuff like that. But I mean, no school. I met some school people and went to a couple classes, but didn't like go all the way through anything. And
hey, practical work is always it's the harder route, but it is the route that produces more, in my opinion, accurate results.
Exactly. On the job training.
And
Good.
then I just look at the machine and go, I don't quite understand you, but I am sure that we'll come to an understanding sooner or later.
That's quite fine. I don't really understand me either. We'll be great friends.
Sure.
Good. When you need to get in contact with me, if I'm not in Neverwinter the time, just go to the House of Knowledge. There find a man named Eldon Massell. He's a gnome. He'll be able to get in contact with me wherever I am. Just tell him that I sent you and he'll do it no charge.
Noted.
For now, I've got work to get back to myself. I trust you all can handle this. And with barely a nod, he will turn and his boots will as he makes his way out the door, leaving you all to your own devices.
We got you,
Everyone
Wilson.
gave a hand. Go ahead.
No, I said, we got you, Wilson. That's all I said.
Right. So, I don't know much about tracking. I can show you where the woods are.
Well, do we know where they would have archaeological digs in the woods? That might be a very good place to start tracking.
I could ask Squirrel.
Oh. Are squirrels very informative?
No, but they know the forest.
Worth a try.
It sounds like the best thing that I've heard all day. The most reliable source of information yet.
I will say I don't necessarily understand them back, but there may be a squirrel that is willing to, guide us in the right direction.
Yes, if we can get a start, maybe it would help us from there, but
I'm small beasts seem to like me, so they seem to understand me well enough. I could ask them where a weird hole in the ground is, and they'll probably bring me towards it. So, want to get going now? We are on the job.
Oh, how big are these woods?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I spent most of my time by the sea.
Has the tracker been in the woods before? Have you got experience in this?
I have been there once or twice, maybe. It's a fairly large wood.
And the squirrel's going to take us to a big hole in the middle of this large wood. And then we're just going to jump in there and say, hello, are you in there?
Do you have a better idea?
No, that's the worst part. I don't. All right, well, archaeological dig. Is the location that we're at, is anybody else in town more attuned to that particular branch of science, perhaps, than the local tree rodent population?
I would assume her father would have been the best option to tell us where the digs would be, but perhaps there's a society. That would be nice.
And that was the guy that just left, right? That was that. Damn it. Okay, yeah. Is there an archaeological society in town? Archaeological?
Why don't you make me a history check?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. History.
Well, nothing immediately rings at your bell that would specifically delve into the archaeological nature, but he did just mention specifically some place called the House of Knowledge, which, if it's being run by a wizard of some renown, perhaps he might have more information for you.
All right, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we just want to go talk to the squirrels and dive right into it, or do you want to? I mean, I'm down to go the squirrel route if that's what you guys want to do. If you trust them, then I'll trust them.
I trust all the small creatures. But the problem that I would be worried about is it is a wizard. They tend to charge for their information. We could try, but I do not have any cash on me that is not for the coffers.
Yes, I know. See, that's why I'm trying to learn all the magic I can so I can charge more. All right. Well then, I guess we should hear a lovely tune or something and head off and find a squirrel.
Fiverr is happy to oblige with a lovely tune while we walk.
Yeah, and seeing as we're leaving, Shava's going to go on the other side of the table. She's going to kind of pick up this cage-like thing and just kind of attach it to her belt. You're going to hear like little hoots coming from it.
I think she just put a bird on her belt.
Doesn't seem to be in distress.
It does not, no.
then I think that maybe we should mind our own business.
All right.
All right. So, as the group makes its final decisions, where does the group plan on heading first?
I think we agreed on going to the edge of the woods and trying to coax a squirrel to show us it's the biggest hole it's seen in the forest.
Okay. So I will say there is a cursory amount of information that you all do have about Neverwinter Woods, because Neverwinter Woods' proximity to Neverwinter itself. All in all, it is fairly large. But most of Neverwinter's woods are towards the southeast of a river known as the River Never. It bifurcates much of this forest in half. The northern edge of the forest is split in half by a mountain range known as the Craigs, specifically the mountain where Mount Hotenow recently erupted in the past 30 or 40 years or so. Large sections of that area of the woods have largely been demolished and have yet to had time to recuperate, but the sections of wood that are eastern of the River Never have been allowed to continually grow and are more or less intact. If anyone was heading towards the woods, you get the idea that that would be where they would be heading, not towards the volcanic remains of Ashen Wasteland. So at the very least, you know where to start.
Okay, sure. We head that direction, and as soon as we get to the tree line, I start chittering, trying to get any small beast to come close enough that I may
All right, well,
ask
we'll
them
get
a
there.
question.
It is a day's travel, a day and night's travel, I should say, to get to the edge of the woods. It is some distance away from the city, but unfortunately, you are following the river, and that makes it far easier to track. But as you are following the river, I would like your guide to please make me a survival check. Whomever is handling it, I'm assuming that would be Shava, but I could be wrong.
He did say she was the tracker.
You guys are off to a great start. I'm feeling it.
Hey, we like eights. Yeah.
Fortunately, you're not really at any risk of getting lost. You are following the river northeast. Within the better part of 8 hours of travel, you come across the ruins of a village, which those of you who have spent any small amount of time in Neverwinter recognize as the ruins of a town called Thunder Tree. It was destroyed in the eruption of Mount Hotenow, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot left there. There have been rumors of undead in the town long before any rumors of other undead have begun to spread, but as it is, it seems safer to keep a wider breath. As you make your way around the town, making sure that you don't give anything that might be perched there reason to cause you ill will, Tamara, you start to pick up on tracks that make you remember something. The tracks themselves are spaced but loping, suggesting that whatever is here is wounded in some fashion. The way it hobbles seems to suggest that one of its legs is injured in some way, and there are trickles of blood, like it may be injured currently. Fairly fresh blood at that.
Yeah, so Shava's gonna look up and she's gonna say, guys, do you see those? And she's gonna point out the tracks. She's just gonna say, there's something injured in the woods here.
Does it look humanoid?
If you'd like to determine what it is, make a nature check.
Well, you know, we're top dogs because we know what Fiverr's gonna roll, so we don't have to worry. We're gonna be.
We can only go up from here, guys.
That's what I thought when you rolled the 8s.
Yes, but she'll roll a 5, and then.
So you can discern it's not humanoid. It appears to be a beast of some kind. It is 4-legged, though at the moment you only notice 3 of its prints. It's hard to discern, but it looks to be some form of. It's not wolf. There's no paw tracks, but it's hard to nail down exactly what it might be.
Okay, so there's drag marks in the mud.
It appears to just be nature to me. This happens all the time.
Well, maybe we should be worried.
How close are we to the village that is said to be, what do you call it, infested with undead?
Uh, Assuming you all would have given it a proper birth, I would say maybe a mile out of the way, just to
So
assume that anything that might be in the village would come out after you.
not so far away that a traveling zombie might have wandered this far off, that kind of thing.
Hard to say. It's possible.
So,
I'm just going to, just in case, Shepard is going to activate their Eyes of the Grave,
Okay.
which will give me a 60-foot look around to detect any undead that aren't behind full cover.
Okay. So as you attune your senses out, listening, smelling, just feeling that stench, that chill of undeath that comes with creatures that have crossed back from mortal coil back into the realm of the living. You do not pick up the telltale signs of any creatures, but I will say that as you spread your senses out, looking, the blood trail that is accompanied with these hoof prints, there is something unnatural about it.
Huh. Well, uh, I take back what I say about nature. Technically, this is still nature, but I wouldn't follow this trail unless you guys are looking for trouble.
I'm going to take my crossbow off of my back and get close to the solid person. Other side, that side.
Ivor strums the lute a little faster with intensity because we found creepy tracks.
Oh, I love
the
it.
trail.
I love it. Theme music to go with the moment. Ding, 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 ding.
When we eventually find that squirrel, I'm going to ask that you stop playing the lutes. They don't like noises like that, but I appreciate the ambiance.
By all means, just appreciate the spoons. I've got some of those.
They might think you're talking to them. I don't know.
Ah, curious. I've never interacted with squirrels, well, except for when they throw nuts at me from trees, you see.
That's just them saying hello.
All right. So, as you all avoid any potential trail that is followed here, making your way farther along, I'm getting a little bit of an echo from somebody here. I don't know who that is. You do spot more telltale signs that something is not quite right here. The tracks are waving in and out. Clearly, whatever is here is not moving with any purpose or means. Seems to just be meandering about, which is somewhat in line with tales you heard of undead as of late. But the next thing that you find, I don't need anyone to make a check for because the scene kind of plays out before you. You notice streaks of blood in matted grass, like something has been dragged along the ground. And about 60 feet away from you, loping in not your direction, but in a general area around you, is what looks like a fairly large stag. Its body is impressive, its horns are well grown in. Obviously, there has not been much contention in its life for this part of the season. But you see strewn about its antlers is a wolf carcass, like it gored it amongst its horns, but was unable to shake it off. And as you leer at it, you can see that the wolf is dropping blood down atop the creature's head, and it is just kind of swaying it back and forth, almost like it's not quite sure what to do about it.
How absolutely gruesome.
I haven't been to the forest much lately, but I don't think this is normal.
I've lived in them my whole life. This is not.
As you continue to watch it, you notice something else, but I would like everybody to make a perception check to determine just how good your vision is. Not bad, getting better. All right. So, as you all kind of look at it a little closer, you notice that there's immediately something wrong with this stag as well. First of all, one of its legs is missing. As it slowly turns about, you realize just how it's missing. There are wolf bite marks that have shorn and possibly torn its leg off. But as its frame comes more into view, you realize the entire opposite side of its body has been ripped asunder and its entrails are hanging out. This stag is undead. And as it turns to face you, its head kind of cocking to one side, almost like it realizes you're there, it kind of tilts ahead to the side stupidly and then lowers its head down in a mock gesture of eating grass.
Well, that situation seems to answer itself. Would
I was
you mind helping me? I need to take care of this. This is an abomination.
I think it's beyond taking care of.
It, even though it looks like this, if you hit it hard enough, it will stop moving again.
I agree. This goes against nature.
Well, it goes against Cullenborg, that's for certain. Although I don't really get. Is there a necromancer around here that we just haven't talked about? I know that there's undead, but why would someone raise a deer?
From what I understand, it's just sort of happening. Like, one day someone's dead, the next day they're not. So perhaps it extends to animals as well?
Well, either way, I take out my shield and my mace. Anyone going to join me, or is this going to be a one-person party?
I'll draw my bow as well.
Okay. And I begin to approach.
All right. As you begin to approach, you notice that while the deer is seemingly aware of you, it doesn't seem to be putting much stock in any threat you may be posing to it. It seems more preoccupied with its mannerisms, eating at the grass, keeping its head balanced with the odd weight of the wolf upon it. And you slowly creep closer and closer. And what would you like to do?
As soon as I get within a range where I can swing my mace at it, I'm going to aim for right between the eyes and swing as hard as I can. As far as I know, or at least as far as the church has told me, this is an undead, and you just have to hit it hard enough and it will stop moving again.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go ahead and roll first, but Shava, you can keep that roll as you would like to shoot it after he does. So go ahead and make me an attack roll, Shepard. All right. So as you go to level your mace to swing mightily upon this deer, its head cranes around, almost like immediate panic settling in its undead nature, perhaps instinct of preservation that it has kept over from its time in life. As you swing wide, it brings its antlers down and you catch them, battering the wolf carcass, but unable to, unfortunately, make any real impact into the deer itself. At this point, Shava, your roll will hit, and why don't you go ahead and roll me damage? All right, you will get sneak attack as well. As your arrow penetrates straight through the side of its throat, just as it rears its head up, exposing the jugular from the mace blow. The arrow strikes true, and the creature gives a weird bleat, but a droned out version of it, as its head kind of knocks one to the side, and it just collapses to the ground.
Okay, all right.
And I'll just kind of put my bow away.
You put your bow away. And Shepard, you give a moment, you look at it. Make me a perception check. All right. So you kind of look up and down this deer. There's no signs it's been tampered with other than the inn that it has met. But as you were looking at it, you notice something about it is wriggling and writhing back and forth. And that's when you see that parts of the antlers are shifting and that the wolf carcass that is mounted and gored upon them is trying to crane its head around and opening its mouth as if trying to bite something. You're muted.
Sorry, I was typing. Does the wolf itself look like it's undead as well, or is it a living wolf just desperately trying to get out of a situation?
make me a medicine check.
I'm trained in that. Haha.
You can tell that one of those gored horns clearly caught it in the heart. There is no way this wolf should be alive. And it certainly wasn't moving earlier.
Well, hey, Shava, mind taking another shot at this wolf? I thought this would be one job, but it turns out it needs to be two.
Of course. And I'll redraw my bow.
All right. As it is, the wolf is currently restrained. It can't seem to pull itself off of the stag's antlers. So go ahead and make another attack roll.
I'm sorry, my sheet's doing weird things now.
All right. This time, as you go to do it, the wolf's shaking the entire stag carcass back and forth. The arrow just sails wide, catching the edge of the stag's shoulder as the wolf's head cranes slowly, and it tries its damnedest, but it's certainly failing to pull itself off of the stag's horns. Half propped up as it is, not quite on the ground.
May I coup de grace or an equivalent action?
Make an attack roll at advantage, as it is currently restrained. All right, that will hit. As you bring your mace down, it was not in much shape with which to resist you. And as you crush the top of the skull, wolf's head, its body shudders and goes still as both stag and wolf finally meet their true end.
Yeah. Fiverr will make an approximate retching sound. Having no organs with which to retch, it is literally the closest noise that Fiverr can make.
I think gears grind a little bit.
All right.
Jeez, buddy, it's going to be all right.
Well, Shepard does a quick prayer for the two of them before pulling the arrows out and returning them to Shava. I don't know if these arrows will still work. I don't really know much about this kind of thing, but here they are. That was unpleasant. I hope we don't find too much more of this out here.
Okay. So, with no further interest in these strange abominations, you all can continue your way towards the edge of the Neverwinter Wood. It is a night of camping, but it is a night that will thankfully come without threat or issue. You all may rest happily. As the next day crests upon you, the last days of spring giving you a warm morning and a sun that is not too hot and not too humid, you all begin to make your way into Neverwinter Woods before the noon breaks. The tree line is as it always has been. And I believe you said you would like to draw the attention of some small furry creature to help you, so why don't you go ahead and make me an animal handling check?
Sure thing. Is animal handling a charisma-based check?
It is a wisdom-based check.
Okay, cool.
Just while we have this moment, I would have also mentioned during the night something about them funky arrows, and somebody said something about something being infectious. I'm just throwing that out there.
If there is an infectious disease, I'm sure the Church of Kalimvor would have heard about it. I was not informed of any such thing in my briefing.
Okay.
Possibly infectious, I think. Or perhaps a curse, or there's many theories right now. No concrete evidence, I think, is the word you would use for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's a scourge on the land, but I don't think that it would be a virus that does this to you. Oh, or maybe it is. Who knows?
Well, no, I was just more worried about Shava, having these funky arrows. But, if you say it's good, and I trust Fiverr, sorry, Padre, but, I like the smarts of the machine over the divine. So, anyways, carry on with your squirrel there. I'll be quiet.
As you all have this conversation, you do notice that a small furry creature, in this case, not so much a squirrel, but a tiny chipmunk, has burrowed its way from the inner roots of a tree, evidently a burrow nestled away there, and is just kind of peering up, its nose twitching, sniffing at you all. Seems like it's picking up something off, and it's hesitant to come closer, but at the very least, you've managed to goad it out of its hiding place.
Using speech of the beast and leaf, I'm just going to kind of crouch down and beckon it closer. It allows me to communicate with in a very limited manner too.
Scroll it in the chat for me so I can read it.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's odd that it's charisma checks when handling animals isn't charisma.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was charisma.
Yeah. All right. As you've already managed to goad it out of its hole, it will creep a little closer to you. It doesn't seem to notice anything too untoward about you, but it kind of keeps its eyes twitching around, kind of paranoid, but not out of character for a small prey creature like this. Chitters slightly.
Can you bring us to the biggest hole that is in this forest?
Kind of looks around for a brief moment, kind of almost picks itself up on its hind legs, like it's trying to look a little taller, a little higher for some reason, before it turns around to the sides. And in this instance, why don't you go ahead and make me a persuasion check with advantage?
Sure thing.
If it would like to follow along with you.
Preferably without spiders, please.
They're
Okay.
part of nature as well.
So the small chipmunk will give you a little chitter, and it will turn and it'll begin to lope its way slowly through into the deeper portions of the forest.
I think that is a sign to follow them.
Very good. I was starting to worry there for a minute that it was looking towards my mother. All right, let's go.
You all,
second part, Shepherd breaks. Sorry.
you all follow this chipmunk for the better part of 2 or 3 hours as it just kind of leaps and bounds, trying its best to keep the uneven terrain deeper into the woods. And as you follow it, you notice that it is stopping occasionally, sniffing at the air. And as it does so, the smell comes to you all as well. It's familiar, but not as strong, pervasive throughout the woods itself. When you all are around the stag and the wolf, the scent of decay kind of washed over your noses. Like, obviously, there was something rotten about this. But just on the wind here, there's just something constant about it. Like there's something deeper within or looming farther off. But nonetheless, your brave little chipmunk friend continues to wobble and wobble its way farther in. Unfortunately, he doesn't manage to take you anywhere on the next day. As you continue to creep deeper into the woods, night slowly begins to fall, and the creature begins to look for somewhere to bury itself deep as to avoid any further issues. You all begin to, I assume, set up camp for another night's watch. And tonight, I would love for you all to set me a watch to establish what you all will watch in orders. Simple enough, 2-hour watches, each of you will take one, and I would like each of you to make a perception check during it. So who would like first watch?
I'll go first. That works.
Okay. Are you going to be setting a campfire for this watch, or are you going to be trusting your ability to hide in the woods without being spotted?
Yeah, I'm gonna use my ability to hide in the dark, definitely. And also, I'm gonna go ahead and open that cage. And as I open the cage, you guys will see a tan kind of barn owl, kind of hopping around in the cage. And I'm just gonna kind of open it and let him out.
As you let him out, there is a flurry of feathers as it takes flight, making its way to a nearby higher up tree. Begins a moment of preening, creaking its head around, giving off. Ooh, ooh. That was awful. I apologize. As it scans the surroundings for anything, make me an insight check as you do so.
So we're going like lights out, tactical type camp out here in the cold and the dark.
I'm not sure where the +4 came from. With a 17, as you spent time with your dear owl friend, its head is raised up. It seems to be on alert. Perhaps even to it has picked up on something odd in the forest and is on edge about it. But as you settle in without a campfire, I would like for you to make me a perception check with disadvantage, please. As in the darkness of the forest, it is difficult to get a proper bead on anything.
Even with the dark vision?
Even with dark vision.
No, from disadvantage.
The dark visions was giving you disadvantage. Otherwise, you would just be failing the check. Campfires are important, guys. It's good to learn that lesson early on.
But they can't see us as well, right?
Sure. Okay. So, still a really good roll regardless. As you set up on your watch, keeping a stalwart eye, the air itself, this late spring day, there's a chill on it. Colder than what you might expect, but it's perhaps an unseemly autumn wind coming in. Perhaps weather bringing in from the river has chilled the campsite. But as you continue to watch it, you notice with the cold is coming mist, drifting through the trees, slowly but surely taking over the campfire and obscuring your vision, not so much as to make it impossible to see. You can still clearly make out your allies and the trees around, occasionally glancing up and noticing your owl still looking around, keeping an eyes on everything you can see. But a steady mist has rolled in and is settled upon you. But other than that, your watch will go off without a hitch.
Yeah, so since it's kind of just the mist, is this normal, I guess, in this part of the woods? Or...
It's not impossible. There is a river off to the north. A cold wind blowing in on the hot seasons could create a mist, and you're not too far from the ocean either, so it's no reason to cause immediate alarm.
Yeah, so which is the only thing that would happen, I guess, at the end of my watch, I would just wake up whoever was next.
Okay. So who are you waking up for watch number 2?
I want to go in between the machine and the holy man.
Okay.
Yeah, in that case, I'll wake up Shepherd.
Yeah. I'll take the worst shift.
Okay. Shepherd, as you wake up and you notice that it is dark, far too dark for your fearable guys, why don't you go ahead and make me a perception check? As you two have noticed that this cold mist is kind of just drenched and blanketed over everything.
Sure thing.
With disadvantage.
This is a perception check, correct?
Yes.
I can do alphabet. Which one's that? That one.
Wow, you guys are knocking it out of the park with these. We found your strength. It's looking at things. So, as the night trails on, you do not hear any sounds of predators in the woods, no sounds of things creeping upon you, which you're thankful for. The woods are quiet. But what isn't so calming is the mist grows thicker as it gets colder. This is definitely a cold wind, perhaps blowing in from the north, bringing even worse with it. And as you begin to look at it, the mist itself becomes a full-blown fog, almost encircling the campsite and obfuscating your vision beyond 30 feet or so.
That's annoying. Well, I don't want any of these guys to freeze, so I might as well make a fire for them just in case.
Okay. It's simple enough to gather up some loose twigs and branches and catch them on fire with a tinderbox or magic as you see fit. And a roaring campfire will catch up, giving you far more light in the center of the clearing and allowing you to see clearly. The fog seems to be almost beaten back by this fire, shining deeper out and giving you far more vision than you had previously. But your watch will go off without a hitch, and we may enter watch number 3, which I believe will belong to Franco.
Nice. Thanks for the fire.
So you wake up. You felt chilled, but with the fire, it is easy enough to sit by it and warm your bones. Why don't you go ahead and make me a perception check that is not a disadvantage because you have the aid of a fire now.
Oh. Beautiful. Back at it again.
So with this, okay, there we go. With this fire set about you, you're warmer, but this fog blocks anything from the distance, and it's quiet. All you hear is the occasional ruffling of your allies set around the campfire, moving about. Occasionally you hear, ooh. You look up and you see an owl sitting in the tree, just kind of looking at you, then looking off into the woods, seemingly.
Damn bird. See, honestly, I'm not even really looking. I just getting kind of close to the fire because I was freezing my ass off.
But fortunately, nothing is intended upon you either, as the next 2 hours pass and you just spend it warming yourself by the fire and unbothered by the world around you. So, as you finish your watch, the last watch of the night will come about, which at this point, Shava, you will have awoken as your watch is as your rest is over. So 2 of you will be awake if you would both like to make me perception checks with the aid of a roaring fire that is bright as can be.
To be fair, Warforged only need 4 hours of sleep.
6 hours.
So said 4. I will double check later. Okay.
Trust me, Wednesday game is 2 of them. We know.
Okay.
All right, you're both awake, and you both may make me a perception check, as the morning has not quite risen. In fact, it seems like a late sun, as odd as that may be. All right. As both of you begin to look around into this full, thick fog that seems to threaten to drown out the morning sun, something is off about it. Out of the corner of your eye, you start to notice movement, but there is no sound to the movement. However, you kind of look around. It seems like the wind is blowing at an unnatural angle. But Shava, your keen eyes, you pick up something else. You see shapes in the fog. Shapes that look like snarling mouths and creeping wolves as they shift around you silently, but watching.
I'm gonna look at Fiverr and I'm just gonna be like, do you see those?
I didn't see anything. Oh. Okay, that's not good, is it?
Not at all. Perhaps we should wake the others now.
Seems a plan. And Fiverr would trot off to go wake the others from their slumber. Hello, yes, we're under attack, maybe. Possibly there are wolves. I think they like to eat your fleshy bits.
And as she does that, I'll kind of call Phanomar back to me.
All right. Your owl will swoop down out of the fog and land on your shoulder peacefully, kind of craning its head around, almost paranoid. Maybe it's catching what you're seeing as well. And as you awaken your other companions, each of you wake up to a very dim early morn, this fog all around you. And as they point out the shapes in the mist, you too see as what looks like several creatures almost made out of the fog by nature, slowly circling around you.
Well, that's new.
Like circling around the camp?
Yes, at the edge of the campfire.
Frank, do you know what these are?
No. I was hoping that you might should be able to shed some light on the spiritual nature of things there, Father.
Well, let's see if they understand me. Hey, we are just passing through. Have you seen any large holes around here? I call out to the wolves, or what appear to be wolves.
As you call out to the figures, you notice that slowly their circling begins to cease, and they fade slowly, almost ethereally, back into the mist before your campfire sputters and sputters and begins to rise as smoke billows off of it. As it does so, figures in it begin to appear. A sloping caped figure that turns slowly, looking at each of you, its eyes locking and furious. Interesting. You'll do well. And as he says that, the fire sputters and dies. In that instance, as the smoke rises up and your eyes trail up to follow it, you notice that tendrils in the fog almost seem to be clawing their way over the top of your campsite, as if to smother the sky itself before a ethereal like hand presses the fog down and smothers your campsite, cutting your vision off and for a moment trapping you all in an endless fog. And that's where we're going to take our break.
I don't think they like that.
I don't think those are wolves.
That was the wrong thing to do. No, let's go back. Do over.
So yes, we're going to take a break. We'll be back after we run some trailers and such, and then we'll be picking up with the campaign itself.
How long for break?
50 minutes or so. It depends on when we can get everybody back and we have everything run.
Good.
Just be back when you can. We'll see you then, everybody.
I think one.
Back.
Deep fog with somewhat supernatural manifestations about it. And as they are now, they are still trapped within that fog, unable to see each other, unable to even notice the campfire that has sputtered out and stopped. As you all take a moment to look around, desperate for any sign or example that you are not just suddenly all alone, the fog fades slowly, allowing more vision to fall in. As it comes true, you notice a few things. First and foremost is that your campfire is still there, followed by the rest of you. All of you are intact for the most part, no harm done. Your owl still sitting on your shoulder and your things still strewn about the ground. But as the fog pans slowly farther outwards, almost like expanding from the campfire, you see the trees are off. The ground is off. Even the sky is off. The trees are gray-stricken, and they're not oak wood. They're something else, spruce or fir. There's a chill in the air, even as the fog leaves. It acts to set in your bones. Unseasonable even for autumn, much farther off, like an early winter. The sky is gray and completely overcast, and there is not a sign of the sun in it. Slowly but surely, each of you see that you are not in the same woods that you went to sleep in.
The trees changed.
I agree.
Someone else noticed it. I thought I was having a bit of a problem mentally or something. I'm glad you all are still affected as I am.
I think there's still wolves nearby. No. Shepard's going to pull out a notebook and begin jotting down what he sees and says, "This wasn't part of the contract. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask for extra when we get back."
As you take a moment to settle yourselves in these unfamiliar situations, the woods about you maintain. Though breaking through in a shrill cry is a crow calling out its call, shrill, echoing, seems to bounce off the trees, almost like it's being answered by some unknown force. Slowly, it calls again, more hesitant, faster. And as it does so, that's when you hear it. The first peal of a howling wolf.
Can you send your owl up there to talk to that crow? Make sure everything's on the up and up.
Even if I did, I wouldn't understand his response.
Yeah. There's always like the breakdown in communication here when it comes to these little animals. So, this is like, do you think the daughter got sucked into this place? What in the world just happened? Does anybody know? Anybody familiar with this?
You're the arcane expert here, I believe.
Oh, this isn't arcane. This is messed up. That's what this is.
Oh, unless there was some sort of divine intervention that I'm not entirely privy to.
Well, yeah, see, now there you go. Now you start getting the divine involved. You never know what's going to happen. Deer that can't seem to get to the other side.
I'm going to maintain that this was a magical effect, or at least it wasn't a random effect.
Always want to blame magic. So I think the crow was talking to the wolf. How close did it sound that the wolf was? Was that quite close?
Make me a perception check.
Yeah.
You see, you've all got it wrong. That was a grand performance by a master bard or magician. The poof of smoke and the change of illusionary scenery. It's very, very clever. I need to write this down.
Impressive and eye-catching, for sure.
The howl of the wolf seemed to be fairly distant, calling off from maybe 500, 600 yards away. A decent stretch, and not to worry. But the crow, as you look around for its source, you can see that there is actually a crow in the clearing with you, watching you, its head tilting off to the side. And as you draw attention to it, it begins to flap its wings, almost annoyed or animated in some way, and begins to call repeatedly at you, shrilly and quickly.
It's weird. I call out to it. If you want us to go somewhere, lead the way.
All right. It turns and it flies away.
Not great.
But as it flies away, you hear it cawing, almost like a trail of breadcrumbs.
You know, there's a reason why I prefer fish. And that's because that they don't play games like this. They're a little too single-minded.
As you have those thoughts, the wolf howl again. And almost immediately after it, a second wolf, closer, howls in response.
Perhaps clearing camp and following our crow friend is in order?
Yes, that... I don't know where we are. We might as well just follow.
Well, we trusted a squirrel to find us a hole, and so we might as well follow the bird.
Well,
I like birds, but I don't know if we should trust this one. But if everyone else wants to follow,
yeah.
In all technicality, that chipmunk did follow its directions fairly well. It brought us into a metaphorical hole that we now don't know where the exit is. So,
Chipmunks think in metaphor. I am so intrigued.
land animals are very tricksy creatures. That's why I prefer the minnows. I get up, wrap up my bedroll, throw it into my backpack. You guys coming? Oh, put out the fire.
well, I don't plan on staying here by myself, and I'll follow behind.
All right. It takes you all a few moments to get up the campfire, and all the while, you occasionally hear the calls of wolves in the distance. After another minute, you hear those wolves again, definitely closer, definitely coming towards your location. The crow returns after that same time, seemingly agitated, as it lands on a branch and begins to animatedly flap its wings before you all seem to gather your things properly, and it takes off once more, following the same line it was before. As it calls out throughout the woods, I would like your tracker to make me a survival check to follow it properly.
Absolutely.
We are killing it tonight.
So as you're following off, unfortunately, the calls of the crow, they seem to bounce off tree to tree, strange distraction. You start to lose track. It sounds like it's coming from multiple directions, and it's not staying within eyesight, so it's hard to track. There's nothing to follow on the ground. There's nothing to find. And as you think you're following a set trail, you see that you come to what appears to be a wall, not of wood or stone, but fog that stretches as high as the heavens above, almost like it too connects with the cloudy gray sky that drowns out the sunlight, making it only as dim as a candle out to a distance. And as you leer at it, it almost seems to pulse ahead of you, almost daring you to try it while warning you to turn back.
Well, I knew the Raven was unreliable.
Not unreliable. Maybe we just misunderstood it.
Fiverr, in curiosity, because Fiverr's, a curious person, would actually touch this wall of fog just to kind of like understand it, I guess.
Your hand presses up, passes through. It is intangible. It is just fog, but fog that looks as if someone has sheared it with a knife and cut it in twain.
Interesting. When the hand comes back through, does the fog come with it in pieces, or like does it move like that?
It almost seems to adhere to itself. There is no give and there is no take to it.
Interesting.
At this point, I don't think I should ask, considering the previous results, but Frank, is this magic?
This is no, this is not magic. This is like evil. I mean, okay, it could be magic, but I only like the good stuff. The pretty magic does good stuff, helps you out from time to time. This is like, says go back to the inn and tell this guy that daughter, sorry dude, but daughter's gone. That's what I'm thinking.
Frank, I appreciate your contribution to this party. You are an invaluable asset.
Thanks, Padre.
As you all are having this conversation, looking up and forth, you see the wall itself seems to stretch as far as you can see, disappearing in woods on either side. There's only two ways to go, and one of them leads approximately back the way you came, the other hopefully beyond. If you'd like to follow the wall, or if you'd like to make a desperate attempt to see if you can find where the crow has gone.
Can I send my owl up to see if he maybe spots the crow?
Sure, make me a... Actually, I guess I should make a perception check for the owl. Wow, even with advantage, that was a 5 and a 6. That's unfortunate. Your owl will sail up to height about 100 feet above the tree line, circling around for a brief moment. And as you watch for it to take off in a direction and direct you, it seems to just spin about before panically dropping back down to your level. And as it drops back down to your level, each of you see, who were watching the owl, what look like bats cut and fly through the trees, shrieking suddenly, almost overtaking it as it drops back between the tree line, and the bats swarm off back around and seem to disappear into the mist.
And they're inside this wall with us, or they're from somewhere on the other side of it?
You
This
can't see
wall of
through the wall,
fog.
you just see the wall as fog.
Right.
There is no other side to the wall. It's just fog.
Right. So they came out of the fog?
You're not sure where they came from, but they did seem to come from almost nowhere.
Of course they did. Well, Frank is kind of cowered down and is pretty much holding on to the leg of Fiverr at this point. I got you. I got you.
Your assistance is appreciated.
As you take a few more moments to decide, almost as if to remind you that you are in danger, the wolves howl again, constantly gaining or perhaps tracking you.
Well, this worked before. Let's see if it works again. Shepard's going to pull out a torch and light it and
Okay.
try to see if that will disperse some of the fog.
You slide the torch into the fog, wave it about. As the torch itself passes into the fog, it's almost like the light of it is swallowed for a brief moment before you draw it back and the light illuminates the clearing around you again. There is definitely something unnatural about it.
Well, I put the torch out and I look at the party and go, it's better to go into the fog than it is to be eaten by wolves. Trust me. There's a lot of carcasses that I've seen of various animals being ravaged by them. If we can't see in it, they can't see in it either.
Well, let me ask you this, Shepard, because I do have this one thing I can do. I can detect magic, and if knowing if there's magic close to us helps solve part of this riddle, then I think I'll do that. But if you don't think that's gonna, I don't know if that's magic or not, and I don't know if knowing anything's magic now is gonna help us.
I would hazard to call this a riddle. Because there does not seem to be an answer here. This more feels like it feels like we were led here, honestly. If we teleported here and now that there's wolves coming after us and a crow wanted us to come this way, this fog is obviously been put here or has been unnaturally created here. We either go through it or we fight a bunch of wolves. I don't really know if there's going to be much of a difference.
Well, hey, I am anti-wolf all the way, and killing and hanging out with both. So going away from those would be best.
Can Shava look and see if she maybe sees any other direction we could take?
Well, the wall itself is just a flat line on the edge of the forest. You could just follow it in general the same direction you were going along the fog wall without going in. Whether or not that would lead you anywhere, that's only time will tell.
I want to try going through it. I think that might be entertaining.
Oh, for God's sakes, what the...
I pull out a notepad and write down yet another thing I'm going to be charging extra for and say, look, someone wants us to go through this fog wall, and I don't believe that there is much of a reason for us to not. They're making a very, very good argument, whoever it is.
If everyone agrees to go, I'll go. I just want to put out there, the last time we went into the fog, we ended up here.
There's a lot worse places, a lot better places than here, honestly.
So you all are stepping into the fog?
I will.
And Shava will follow if everyone else steps in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going with them. I'm not hanging around.
Okay. So as each of you step towards the fog, that is a familiar feeling as you reach through it and your senses are dulled as endless fog seems to surround you. And for a few moments, it just feels like you woke up in the fog again until something feels off. It's hard to breathe. It's hard to move. Your entire body feels like it's suffocating. And I need all four of you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Did you say we're all making Constitution saving throws?
I need all four of you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh my gosh.
Off to a good start.
Save my Constitution.
When you roll a 1,
oh my gosh.
On, right?
Okay. So as each of you step into the fog and these effects start to wash over you, It's draining. Each of you just woke up, but all of a sudden you feel like you've been up for hours, like you've been walking for days without end. I would like everybody but Fiverr to mark a point of exhaustion.
I thought we had been walking for days. Exhaustion.
As each of you here, actually, I'll have to. I'll remember this, but for now, just remember that you have disadvantage on ability checks. I'll show you how to do that after session because we're going to move on here. As each of you stumbles, slowly you feel this fog draining you more and more. Fiverr, as you are the only one who seems to be mostly unaffected, you stumble out of it. And as you stumble out, you see the trees are the same, but the clearing isn't. Black pools of water stand like dark mirrors in and around a muddy roadway. Giant trees loom on both sides of the road, their branches clawing at the mist. As one by one, your companions stumble out of the fog behind you, and you are, at the very least, not lost in the woods. You found a road.
There you all are. See, I've been waiting for you. I believe civilization is that way.
That sucked.
Oh, thank Jesus. That's good. That's good. She knows where civilization. The machine knows where civilization is. So let's go. Let's get to there. Right.
Fiverr. Quick question: do you actually know where civilization is, or did you point a direction down the road?
I mean, people build roads to get from one place to the other, so it would make sense that a road would lead to a town.
Exactly.
Fair enough. I rest my case.
Okay.
Got it, Fiverr.
If all of you are conceding that following the road is the best idea, you all may begin to do so. Thankfully, with the road, there again is no chance of getting lost. And as each of you follow it, you see clear signs of recent rain as these pools of water and mud is abundant along it. And you follow this road for the better part of 5 hours. Throughout this time, you notice the trees are quiet. No sign of crow, raven, or wolf, for that matter. And you are left to your own devices, only trudging, muddied boots in the way, and dirty clothes, for that matter, as each of you make your way along. At the end of that 5 hours, the fog sides of the road are high stone buttresses looming gray in the fog. Huge iron gates hang on their stonework. Dew clings with cold tenacity to the rusted bars. 2 headless statues of armed guardians flank the gate, their heads now lying amongst the weeds at their feet. They greet you only with silence.
Can I investigate the gates just to see if I notice anything of interest, I guess?
Make an investigation check.
Oh, disadvantage.
You say if the gates were open or not?
The gates are currently closed.
And I said investigation, right?
Yes. Just an investigation roll. Okay. You are at disadvantage, so good. How close are you getting to these gates, just for my curiosity?
I would walk up to them, I guess. It's about 10 feet away.
Okay. So as you close over them, sliding around the heads that have fallen, once you get 10 feet away, you hear a strange creak from the gates, almost as if their hinges are straining as they slowly begin to open towards you of their own accord.
And I'm gonna look back at Shepard and just go, that was weird, right?
A little strange, yes.
At this point, I'm on the everything is strange sort of. That's where everything starts. At this point, you have to prove to me that it's not strange from now on.
This grand archway, like with the statues and everything, do I have any recollection in my memory of places that would have this kind of architecture? Like to get an idea of where we are if we're still in the Sword Coast?
To your knowledge, nothing would ring a bell for this. There's certainly nothing along the Trade Ray or the High Road, even things Tribor Trail south of Neverwinter. No pass that would suggest a construction of this size, and nothing assuredly that would implicate that this was a effort of a group of individuals. And the climate itself suggests you're much farther north. It's cold here for late spring. There's a chill in the air constantly.
You know, a structure like this would usually indicate where we are, but I'm completely lost. Any of you got any ideas?
Fiverr, being relatively old at this point, would give the gates a once over, committing how they look into memory, so that probably even sketching it or something to that degree. Anything noticeable from Fiverr's perspective? Like, is this something Fiverr may have heard of before?
Make me a history check. You kind of leer up at the gates. You find it odd that someone would make such an effort to cleave the heads off of statues that are clearly over 100 feet tall. And then you start to consider who could have done something like that. It's difficult to tell from down here, but just judging from how the statues look, it was a very clean cut, almost like a guillotine was taken to these things.
Statue killer, clearly.
Right.
But as they are, the gates still stand open, as if they're waiting for you to pass.
Well, I'm not going to reject an invitation if this means that I get to see some buildings again, or maybe someone with answers. Will you follow, or am I just going to be standing here all day?
I will draw my bow, but follow.
Oh yeah, I've had my crossbow like tucked under one arm and holding on as with trying to keep one hand as in finger touch of Fiverr as much as possible. And I don't know where else to go, so I got to go where you guys go because this ain't home.
I mean, someone's inviting us here. It's kind of rude to point a weapon at them, don't you think?
Well, I'm not pointing at anybody. I'm just waiting for the bats and crows and wolves and whatever else that might come swooping down at me.
Okay.
But I'll put it, we get up, somebody offers me a drink, I'll put it away.
Okay.
Okay. So you all continue through the iron gates, and as the last of you passes through them, you hear that creaking once more as they swing slowly shut. But as they swing shut this time, the gates connecting in the middle, you hear almost like a lock has been put in place as the fog washes in behind and covers the other side.
That can't be good.
Past the gates, you see the woods begin to thin slightly. The sides of the road are no longer quite so dug in, but they are still muddy. The trees slowly spreading farther and farther out. As you follow the road this time, it's only another hour or so before, at this point, I need to check. Shava, you pick up something on the wind, something familiar. Sorry. Towering trees, whose tops are lost in heavy gray mist, block out all but a death gray light. The tree trunks are unnaturally close to one another, and the woods have the silence of a forgotten grave, yet exude the feeling of an unvoiced scream. At which point, Shava, you catch the scent of death on the air once more. That rotting smell of decay.
And Shava will kind of sniff the air and then look at the others. Do you smell that?
Once they point it out, the smell becomes almost unmistakable.
Well, good news is that whatever it is, it's already dead.
You say this like it's a good thing.
I mean, if it was alive, then they could point weapons at us.
But that leads to the question of what killed it.
This road doesn't seem like it would be very far traveled. It could just be an old corpse.
Do you have any intention to investigate?
Yeah, Shava would probably investigate.
I'll blink my eyes to the grave at it.
Okay. You extend your senses once more, looking for the scent of anything undead. This time, the sense is dull. Nothing here, no strange sensation. At the very least, there does not seem to be any sign of undead in your proximity.
Yeah, seems to be just dead. Whatever it is.
So, Shava, the foul scent leads you to a human corpse, half buried in the underbrush about 15 feet from the road. The young man appears to be a commoner. His muddy clothes are torn and raked with claw marks. Crows have been at the body, which is surrounded by paw prints. The man has obviously been dead for several days, and he holds a crumpled envelope in his right hand.
Shava will approach slowly and pick up the envelope.
All right. You pick the envelope over, looking at it for a moment. You see it is crumpled, but it is actually still sealed, a wax seal keeping the envelope sealed, and it has a large bee impressed into it.
I will bring it over to the group. Everyone, I found this in the underbrush there. And I'll show them the letter. It seems unopened.
Whew, it stinks. That's why nobody's opened it. Who's going to open that thing? Good.
Well, does it
We're
have
gonna
an
open it?
address on it?
It does not have an address on it.
Oh, we got to open it then, right?
Yeah, at Frank's
It's someone's
suggestion.
mail. I wouldn't. You know what? Do what you need. I'll be
I
over here.
will open it.
As you open it up, you can see that the handwriting that has written it is somewhat illegible, but all in all, easy enough to read. Hail thee of might and valor. I, the burgomaster of Barovia, send you honor with despair. My adopted daughter, the fair Irina Koliana, has been these past nights bitten by a vampire. For over 400 years, this creature has drained the lifeblood of my people. Now my dear Irina languishes and dies from an unholy wound caused by this vile beast. He has become too powerful to conquer. So I say to you, give us up for dead and encircle this land with the symbols of good. Let holy men call upon their power, that the devil may be contained within the walls of weeping Barovia. leave our sorrows to our graves, and save the world from this evil fate of ours. There is much wealth entrapped in this community. Return for your reward after we are all departed for a better life. Kolyan Indirovich, Burgomaster.
This letter says we're in some place called Barovia, and I'll pass the letter to Frank.
Go. Give it to the Padre. I don't want to touch that thing. It's disgusting. I only understood about half of it, but it didn't sound good.
Oh, whoever they are talking about, it's very coincidental that we're the ones who ended up with it. And I doubt this was intended for us if he just found it in the underbrush. So, it sounds like a case of not my business.
How did the guy in the underbrush look to be sporting a letter from the head chef of Burger Mania?
He seemed regularly dressed, just like a common fellow, torn apart by wolves, it would seem.
So clearly, we need to find these people of valor that this missive was meant for and tell them to actually get their butts in gear and do their job.
Speaking of the body, I forgot to bring my shovel. Does anyone have a shovel?
Let me look in my bag. Nope, not one in there. Maybe this guy at where this letter was going might know how to get us out of, what was this? What did it say? Barovia? I don't know if it's this place or that place or where the hell we are, but there's a name, and maybe that guy can put some 2 and 2 together for us.
Yeah, well, I doubt this person was going to be leaving this place, considering the gate locked by itself. So wherever it is, it's probably up the road. So I guess we only have one direction to keep going. That being said, I would hate to leave a body just decomposing on the side of the road.
The closest I have to a shovel is a crowbar, and she'll extend that out to you.
I appreciate it. Maybe a fire will do better.
Tell you what, we're gonna build the fire? Is that what you want to do?
I just want to make sure that he or they get their proper burial rites before we keep going.
Yeah, sure. I'm down.
You really don't know what Kellamvor does, do you?
No.
Buries people, maybe.
Okay, Kellamvor, Shepard pinches the bridge of his nose, is the god of death. I am named Shepard by the people around me because I help shepherd their souls to the afterlife. This person, they died at the side of the road. Unceremoniously. They deserve a proper burial.
No. Well, isn't that nice? That's really good of you.
Also,
Father.
Probably not the best sign for your employer to employ me when sending you out on a mission.
Listen, when I saw that it was somebody who talked to squirrels, a musician, and our tracker, so far I've got all of my hopes on the tracker. This guy's solid. I'm going to stay right next to this, but the tracker so far seems to be the brightest bush in the whole forest. But, if we want to dig a hole for this dead guy, I guess that's what we're going to do.
I'll settle for a small fire.
Yeah, I could...
that. Yeah,
maybe we could eat something
up.
while we're building a fire. Can we, cook something, too?
Sure. If you want to build a smaller fire next to the fire. I don't think cooking food over...
Now you're getting complicated, Padre. All right, let's burn this guy and find out where the hell we are.
Okay, we're going to take 30 minutes to gather some bramble and put them on top of it and try to get a good...
So the actual requirements to burn a body is fairly significant. it has to get very hot to actually incinerate a corpse. But you can begin the process of trying to gather the woods and such that you would need for a make-do pyre that could sufficiently burn a body that would reach the heat required to actually incinerate what is remaining of it. And as you start to do this, go ahead.
Oh yeah, as Shava sees him kind of gathering things, she's gonna pull out like a flask of oil and she's gonna say, maybe this will help.
There you go.
Definitely kickstart it.
Okay. As you all are getting about this, a minute or two into gathering loose branches, whatever dry brush you can find, as the recent rain has soaked everything here to a great degree. Whatever's on the ground is half mud covered. Is when you catch another sound, another wolf howling into the night. But as this one calls out, it is a deep and throaty howl. And its intention seems obvious. As you look towards the trees, the sound that had been broken, the ravens cawing, you see them lined neatly in rows in the branches, and all of them stare at you.
Well,
Fiverr.
Yes.
There's birds looking at us.
Oh, yes. The wolves are going to come and eat you, and the birds are going to have the little bits left behind.
I got that from that deep and throaty howl.
Yeah.
It was obvious. I'm staying next to you. I'm just letting you know. Hold my hand.
Perfectly okay.
Now I'm conflicted. This sucks. Okay.
Make me a nature check, Shepard.
Check some nature, Shepard.
All right. As you hear that howl, something in it catches in you, almost like a natural instinct. Your eyes glance down at the body, at the paw prints that surround it. Mixed in with those paw prints is something that at first you didn't think much of, but now that you're looking at it, that dawning hits you. Some of those paw prints are oversized, far too large, and you realize that is the sound of a dire wolf.
Okay, well, a living cleric of Kalimvor is much better than a dead one. I should regret to inform you that we will be leaving this body here and we will continue walking.
You didn't already pour the oil, did you?
No, it's still here. I barely got a couple of twigs before that. By the way, that's a direwolf. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like a wolf, but it's more dire. And a very dire situation for you if we come across it.
I like that. Maybe, that was a good one.
Maybe we should keep going. Unfortunately, this person is going to be here for a while.
Getting smarter by the minute, Father. I'm with you. Let's go.
Agreed.
As you turn to make your way from this unfortunately deceased individual, you trust that if the wolves are following anything, perhaps they'll be satiated by a snack on the road. As you all continue off following the gravel trail, it is yet another hour or so before the gravel road leads you to a village.
Oh, thank gosh.
Its tall, dark houses as cold as tombstones. Nestled among these solemn dwellings are a handful of closed-up shops. Even the tavern is shut tight. And as you look around, wondering what could possibly cause a town to be so closed off and unwelcoming, you hear a faint whimpering, a crying of a child. And as your eyes trail over, you see huddled in an alleyway are two children, a boy of no older than 6 or 7, and a girl older, but no older than 10 or 11. He clutches a teddy bear to his chest, and his eyes are closed as he balls his eyes. And the young girl places a finger to his mouth and constantly says, "Shush, shush, you must shush."
Small children, hello! And Fiverr would, of course, approach these hiding and terrified children and be like, do you like magic tricks? I've got a few that I will show you. And tries to do a sort of sleight of hand magic trick, but it really doesn't matter how that turns out.
Okay. So you do that, and they both kind of turn to you, and the expression in their faces is almost blank. Like they watch it almost politely, you could use as a word, but after you finish, they just kind of stare at you like they're not quite sure what they were just watching. And after a moment, the girl says, "You're new here? Can
yes.
you help us?"
Just arrived, and yes, perhaps. What do you need? Entertainment? I'm good at
There's
parties.
a monster in our house.
A monster. Oh, we should probably help them with their monster.
Where are your parents?
They're in the house. We're afraid the monster is going to get them.
What kind of monster?
We don't know. We just hear its howls coming up from the basement. Our parents have not come out since.
How long ago did this monster show up?
2 days? Maybe 3? I do not know.
Let me ask the important question. How big is the monster?
I do not know. I have just heard it screaming in the night.
You just heard it screaming in the night. Okay, and then you left the house. Well,
we're not allowed to go into the basement.
No, but upstairs is fine.
Our room is upstairs. We hide in our room, but we had to come outside to find someone. We can't keep waiting. What if it kills our parents?
So you guys have
and for reference, because I don't want you all to be left out, those children, here is a handout for them.
Does anyone have a spare knife?
Jesus, Father, that's not the way to go. We're going to have to, do something else. I mean, we have to get them in their house. We can't just do that.
No.
It's out of Fiverr's shawl, they pull some darts. I don't know if that's helpful.
I mean, sure. It's about time that these children learned what a hard day's work's about.
Please help us. We just want to see our parents again.
I don't know. See, I'm kind of starting to fall along the lines with Shepard here. If he says you guys might need to, you might have to implement some tough love here, and you guys just going to have to suffer this, stick this one out.
As you say that, the little boy just begins to cry.
Oh, for God's sake.
Look, nature doesn't give handouts. Here's a dart. And
you go to hand the dart to her, and she just kind of looks at it.
Maybe we should just go and check it out a little.
I want them to learn how to defend themselves so they can come with us.
You want us to go inside the house?
Face your fears, children. This is how furbolgs learn how to live in the forest by themselves, and you're going to learn how to deal with the monster in your basement.
Maybe we could just send the big one in to go see how big the monster is.
Yes, and then we can measure how big the monster is by the giant chunk that's going to leave in their shoulder.
Well, that's worst case scenario, Father, but yes, ultimately.
You would sacrifice me to the monster?
Oh, no. That's no. We just might want you to go peek around the corner. We're talking about it. Hang on just a second.
I say we help them, but teach them.
I agree. We should probably keep them with us, if nothing else.
Quite honestly, what I proposed is like a moderated version of the exact same thing you're proposing. I mean, you're just going to send them in there and we're going to walk away. At least this way, we send them in there, and if they come running, screaming out, going, "It's really fucking big," then we walk away. Or if they go, "Hey, it's just kind of big, you guys might be able to handle it," then maybe we do them a favor.
They're kids. It's probably just a giant rat. Honestly.
Yeah, a lot of monsters are going to look really big to them.
Well, a giant rat's a pretty fucking big monster. If it's a giant rat, then I'm on the kind of considering the let's just head on down the road. Then if you think it might be one of those, them things are huge.
You do realize the term giant is relative to a rat, correct?
Huge.
Okay.
If I write a ballad about this, it's all going to paint you all very poorly. So do the right thing, protect the children, and let's deal with their monster so that they can have their parents back.
Honorable. Okay. That's why I stick close to Fiverr. I love you, Fiverr. You're probably going to get me killed, but I'm with you.
If it's reward you're after, our parents are nobles. I'm sure they'd be happy to reward you.
Now we're talking.
Okay.
Where do you live, children?
When you ask that, she will point over towards a tall brick row house that has obviously seen better days. The windows are dark. It has a gated portico on the ground floor, and the rusty gate is slightly ajar, though the other houses don't look much better. On either side of the house, they are completely boarded up and look entirely abandoned.
I don't know, kids. Maybe we should just find them a new place.
Up at the sound of the wolves. We can't stay outside. If we go inside, monster will get us. What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
God, okay. I'll go in with you. Stay behind me.
And since it's...
What's up?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I try to find the front door and check if the handle's locked.
Okay. As you make your way up towards the front, you see that there is an entrance portico. A wrought iron gate with hinges on one side and a lock on the other fills the archway of it. The gate is already ajar and open. Beyond, oil lamps hang from the portico's ceiling by chains, flanking a set of oaken doors. The girl who kind of holds on to your back as you pull along, and her brother who is holding on to her cape with one hand and clutching what seems to be an odd doll in the other, almost for security.
I hand the older girl one of my arrows and say, if anything comes close to you, you stab it with the pointy end.
Okay.
And I begin walking towards the house.
All right. You hand her one of the arrows, and she kind of holds it very gingerly, but she does keep it firmly in her grasp. As you move along, it's easy enough to enter into the house proper. I'm assuming the rest of you are following along, either behind or with.
Yep.
Behind.
Fiverr's definitely there with the children, in fact, saying, don't worry. Don't worry, your Auntie Fiverr will protect you.
As you say that, the girl will kind of lean towards the brother, who is still clearly shaken, tears running down his eyes, and say, "See, you hear this, Thorn? She is going to take care of us. We are going to be okay. You just trust Rose. She does not lie to you." And he kind of sniffles and tries to fight back any more tears.
Does he have any objects? You said one of them was holding a teddy bear or something like that.
Yes, the boy is clutching a teddy bear to his chest, as if letting it go would be certain death.
I'm going to touch the teddy bear and cast light and make the teddy bear glow.
Okay. You just slightly touch the top of the teddy bear, which, as you look at it, it's less of a teddy bear, more of a strange doll. It looks like a segmented person, almost like we would expect to look Frankenstein's monster to look, but in patchwork form.
Well, if it brings him comfort, it's now the glowworm model. So,
all right, it begins to glow, allowing you all illumination as you step on. At this point, I imagine Shepard is opening the oak doors and making his way inside the house, correct?
Yep.
All right. They open easily as they are unlocked. Beyond the portico is an entrance foyer. On the south wall hangs a shield emblazoned with a coat of arms, flanked by framed portraits of stone faced aristocrats. Down the hall is a set of mahogany framed double doors, set with panes of stained glass.
You sure live in a fancy home.
I told you our parents are nobles.
Okay. Which way is the basement?
It is in the staircase.
Okay. So that's not very helpful. How about you just at my knee point in the direction that I should be walking?
Okay. As you open up the doors of the entrance foyer into the main hall, you see this wide hall runs the length of the house. A beautiful black marble fireplace is set in the north wall, underneath a mounted longsword. On the south wall is a lavish red spiral staircase leading up to the floors beyond. Wood paneled walls stretch the length and descend the spiral staircase, ornately carved wood paneled. Damn it, type that twice. Yes, wood paneled walls stretch the length and descend the spiral staircase, depicting carved images of vines, flowers, nymphs, and satyrs. There are doors set in the east wall, one adjacent to them in the south, and another is set in the west. And as they creep through, the girl kind of steps into the room, kind of looking back and forth, her brother towing along with her. And she slides off to the right, closer towards the staircase. And then as she looks around, she opens up another door, pushes it in, and then slips inside as her brother follows after her.
Where are you? Okay. You know, I was never a big fan of kids.
Did they just like disappear? Where'd they go? Did they just
walked
take off
into
on
another
us?
room.
Hey,
I just gave the kid a glowy doll.
I told them to stay behind me. Hey, Frank, you're more on their level. You can see eye to eye with them.
Yeah.
Maybe you can convince them to not do whatever they're doing.
It's they went into like just a little trapdoor under the stairs or something. Is that what you? Is that?
So the double doors that you all have walked into the main hall,
Right.
there was a door to the immediate right, which they kind of stepped over to, opened up, and they both walked inside.
Oh, so they just went in a regular door into a different room.
Yeah, they just went through another door.
Oh.
Behind me.
Let's follow them then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Shepard. I'll open the door and kind of poke my head in. Yeah, kids, where you going?
Make a perception check.
Perception.
I'm noticing a recurring theme.
Man, I'm hitting single digits every roll tonight, I think.
Well, you see, positioned around the outskirts of this room are 3 stuffed wolves, positioned as if they are on the hunt. Another black marble fireplace is set in the south wall, a stag's head mounted above it. 2 padded smoking chairs draped in animal furs face the hearth, an oak table set between them. On the oak table are several luxuries: a cask of wine, 2 carved wooden goblets, a pipe rack, and a candelabrum. In the far corner of the room sits an oak table surrounded by polished wooden chairs, a chandelier perched sturdy above. A wooden cabinet sits along the east wall and placed between 2 of the stuffed wolves, another against the north wall, slightly ajar. The room permeates with the faint smell of recent pipe smoke. But as you look around, you see no sign of the children, but the arrow that they had been handed, the older girl, lies sitting on the floor.
It's kind of creepy in here, but I'm also starting to notice this wolf stag theme. I don't know. It's nice. There's some wine. You guys interested?
Where are the children?
That would be stealing, first of all. And yes, where are the children?
Oh, if only I could have wine again.
Oh,
I miss it so.
again. I don't know where the kids went, but they left your arrow, so I guess they decided they didn't need it anymore. Maybe maybe the monster's gone.
God, I hate children. They never listen.
Can I investigate the room to see if I notice where they may have gone?
Make an investigation check. Actually, this will be perception. All right. Well, unfortunately, a 2 is still a 2 either way. You kind of look around the room. There doesn't appear to be anywhere for the children to have gone. There is a small cabinet that is slightly ajar, but as you kind of slip over and just peek inside, the cabinet is empty. Nothing of interest inside. Looking around, there's no sign of trapdoors in the floor or any other exits. The windows themselves have drapes pulled over them, but as you look over and peer behind the drape, you see that the fog that has followed you thus far seems to have crept upon the house.
And this is a
Children, come
house
out
in,
for Uncle Fiver.
yeah, this is a house in the village, right? It's nicer than I anticipated. I don't know where the kids went. Come out, kids. Come out. Listen to your Uncle Fiver. It's all right. Just ignore those wolf noises. It's outside. You're all safe in here with your glow doll thing.
As you listen, the sounds of the wolves die away, as too does any other sounds, except for the faint crying of what sounds like an infant child
Well, if
echoing down from the floors above.
Oh, jeez.
Like any of this. Can
How many
we?
children are in this house?
That child's probably being taken care of by the kids. That's probably where they went. They probably heard it before we did and went up there. Let's just get into the basement and make sure it's okay, and then we can leave. I'm gonna leave them the arrow. They might as well just keep it in case something else comes in.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Fiver, why don't you take a look in the basement? I'm going to put the arrow back on the table and take a sip of that wine real quick, and then you can report back to me what you discover in the basement.
Me?
I'll go with you.
You're tough. Fiver, you're tough and big. Look at you. Hard as a rock.
I'm really quite fragile. You see, Ian lifts up their shawl a little bit, and he's like, I lost some of the armor plating, and I could really use some new stuff, and throws the shawl back down.
I feel like we should probably stay together in this strange.
So you all are making your way back to the spiral staircase? Okay.
I'm making the argument that we just go in the basement, check it, and then leave.
All right. As you all make your way back to the main hall and you begin to examine the spiral staircase, there does not seem to be any trapdoor to the basement. The floor here is flat and even. There does not seem to be any way down.
Well,
where's the basement?
They said it was next to the staircase, or in this. They said it was in the staircase. Maybe we're just missing a trap door somewhere, and I just give the staircase a once over, try to find maybe they're nobles. Maybe it's a secret door.
Perception.
Nobles always have to be the most annoying.
So you kind of reach around, searching the floor to the best of your ability. Nothing here, no seams, no false portions. Everything seems normal. And you kind of stand up and forget your own height as you bang your head on the underside of the staircase. Not enough to do damage, but it that's smarts.
Calamore's graces. Okay. I'm done here.
Rob, maybe if we go find the children upstairs, they can tell us where it is.
Well, that's what they were supposed to do the first time, really. All right.
Maybe they forgot where their basement is. I don't know. Why would they lie to us?
Can Fiverr try to follow the sounds of the crying?
Sure. As you all are standing around the staircase, it sounds like it's coming from upstairs. And looking up the staircase, you can see it goes up easily 3 stories. If you'd like to start creeping up the stairs, as you ascend the lavish spiral staircase, coming to the second floor, you see the upper hall. Unlit oil lamps are mounted on the walls of this elegant hall. Another black marble fireplace dominates the north wall. Above it hangs a portrait of a family: father, mother, daughter, son, and a swaddled baby in the father's arms. Standing suits of armor flank wooden doors in the east and west walls. Each suit of armor clutches a spear and has a visored helm shaped like a wolf's head. Carved into each of the wooden doors are idyllic images of dancing youths, while the spiral staircase continues above.
I'm not being paid enough for this.
And at this point, I'll point out it is fairly dark. Now that Thorn has taken his light doll with him, there is no light with which to see. So I'm assuming somebody will light a torch or cast something.
I'll cast
go
light
ahead.
on my shield. Sorry, I'll cast light on my shield.
Okay.
And
That will
draw.
provide more than enough light to see.
I'm sorry, Fiverr, is there something that you wanted to do?
No. I was going to say that it was rather dark, but you've got it covered with your very glowy shield at this point.
I see a problem. I fix it. Let's keep going.
Does the crying come from the second floor, or are we basically going to go up more?
At this point, the crying is slowly dying off, so you're not sure if it was coming from this floor or the floor above.
Well, time to give a little search, I think. Children, come out. Your sister was Rose, yes?
You call out. You're greeted with silence.
Oh dear.
Is
These children.
Out of curiosity, how big is this family portrait?
The family portrait is fairly large, about 4 foot by 5 foot, I'd say, and seems to be complete of the family itself. And you do see that the daughter and son are the 2 children who led you into the house in the first place.
No, at least we're not loitering. So I take it it's not the kind of portrait where I could just take it, flip it over, see if they wrote down the names of everyone on the back of the picture, and then
Well,
back.
as you look at the placard underneath, you can see it is engraved. The names. Brain is failing me at this point. Give me one quick second as my light goes out. Son of a gun. You see it is labeled the Durst family. Gustav, Elizabeth, Rose, and Thorn. Apparently there was not a name inscribed for the swaddled baby.
The Durst family. Hey, Fiverr, are you familiar with any bards that go by the name Durst? I think I heard a hit song by a Durst a while ago.
I think I know what you're getting on about. It was, quite a while ago at this point, though.
Mhm. Very.
I don't think these are them, though.
Okay.
Or perhaps we should check the rooms on this floor before making our way upstairs.
I mean, it's not our house, and people live here. But sure, I'm not going to stop you.
Okay. On this floor, there are 2 sets of double doors to the to the east and to the west. Do you have a preference?
Whichever one's closest, really.
Okay. In that sense, then we'll look at these doors, as they are the ones that are adjacent to the open staircase that led up to this floor. As you make your way to these doors and open them up, you can see this room opens into a library. Red velvet drapes cover the windows of this room. An exquisite mahogany desk and a matching high back chair face the entrance and the fireplace, above which hangs a framed picture of a windmill perched atop a rocky crag. Situated in corners of the room are two overstuffed chairs. Floor to ceiling bookshelves line the south wall. A rolling wooden ladder allows one to more easily reach the high shelves.
Anything interesting at a glance?
Looking through them, they seem to be a cornucopia of topics covering history, warfare, more mundane events.
The bookshelf TM of people who don't actually read books. Huh. Okay.
It gives that impression, yes.
Is there anything in the room that might maybe tell us more about the people that lived here or where everyone is?
There is a writing desk that you could attempt to look through.
I will make a close look at the books that I can see. I like books, those interest me.
Okay, make me a perception check as you look through the books.
And I'll kind of look through the desk, I guess.
All right.
It's terrible.
Looking through the desk, you see that it is filled with what you would expect to come from a desk. A jar of ink, a quill pen, a tinderbox, and a letter kit containing a red wax candle. And as you look at this candle, may just be a coincidence, but the seems to have been used and the color matches the seal on the letter you found. As for you, Frank, you see a book that seems interesting at first, and you nod, but as you go to touch it and you go to move it, you realize it is not something that pulls out, but appears to be something cleverly disguised as a book that could be pulled down.